Yo, this is your boy Keith C from the
Kicking It with Keith C show.
When I want to jam, I'm jamming with Queen Josie and DJ New as they're kicking those vibes.
We don't take orders from super fools. We give them.
Give it to you.
Any and all resistance will crumble. Nonsense. There's never been a threat
Squad.
couldn't handle. It is the purpose of the
Squad.
to align our infamous forces against the powers of good and defeat them, leaving us, the rulers of the world.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Wait a Minute Show.
It's the Wait a Minute Show.
Chill. And I am your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And my man Lopan, who's in here with me.
Indeed.
Lopan has been real quiet. He been over there eating that Halloween candy. I told him not to be eating that because ain't no telling what's been in it. You know, Lopan goes to the hood, and get his candy, and he said he a hood type dude. I know, so I know you over there eating on 9-laters and all that stuff. No, he don't eat no Almond Joys and all that stuff. Not the good, rich stuff or whatever. He want to keep it grimy, but hey, that's just Lopan and I love him for it. So, like I said, before we went to break, we were talking about the first half of the NFL. So, we're going to revisit, we're going into week 9. So we're pretty much at the halfway point of the NFL season. So we'll look back on a few things. Some things that I was right about. Some things I was a little bit off about. And one of those things I was, off about was, yeah, it's almost hard for me to say it. The New York Giants, yeah, yeah. I kind of had said maybe just a little bit that they would win the NFC East. Yeah, I was a little bit wrong about that. Just a little bit, but who cares? It's good that they're losing because I'm not a Giants fan anyway. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but, Chief Rocker Jersey Vern is what made me say that because he be always talking about the Giants. But in seriousness, is that the Giants have struggling. And it was a big surprise because I did not see this team coming in. I knew they had, problems at the offensive line, but I didn't think that they would have problems moving the ball. Of course, no one, foresaw Odell Beckham, going out with an injury. Brandon Marshall coming to the team. Actually, he's out, for the season as well. But while he was playing, they really wasn't getting nothing from him. Who knows where that was coming from. Eli was looking like down Eli and not, this Eli that, has the magic, if you will, that Eli has had. Their defense, was the highlight, of this team. But that struggled a little bit, at times with teams that they were playing. So, and they are 1-7 right now. Only win is against the Denver Broncos, which I did call that. I said, book it. But it makes you think like, wow, like this team has completely, fell apart. You would have thought that the Giants went to the Super Bowl and they are suffering from a Super Bowl hangover. And I know a lot of people bring up, since that pitcher that they took before the playoffs that they have not won the game. And then, of course, now they win one game, but they've only won one game. I don't think anything from last year has anything to do with this year about taking a pitcher, But what it does seem like the Giants did not address, their offensive line at all. It seems like the Giants did not address their running game at all. You got Paul Perkins, who basically at this point probably has been replaced for the rest of the year unless an injury comes to Orleans Darkwa, or maybe even Wayne Gallman, So he was not giving them anything. You haven't gotten anything from the tight end spot at this point. Evan Ingram, I think he got one touchdown. He might have got two. I know he got at least one, but he's a work in progress anyway. They weren't expecting to get, the next Tony Gonzalez this week, this season, But the biggest thing is the injuries. I mean, losing Odell and losing Brandon Marshall, I don't care what it is. I don't even care if you're the Patriots. You can't look. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. But most teams other than the Patriots, you cannot lose your two starting wide receivers and have trouble with line and your running back and expect to have, success in this league. You would get exposed. So, surprisingly, the Giants struggling the way that they struggle. I really thought that they would take the reins back from, the Cowboys and run this league, but it didn't work out that way. And that leads me into who is running the league and that division, and that's the Eagles. Eagles are 7-1 right now. 7-1, ladies and gentlemen. And they're making moves that we'll talk about later. But at this point right now, you got to get a lot of credit to the Eagles front office. You got to give credit to Carson Wentz. Big time. Give credit to Carson Wentz. And you got to give credit to the coaching staff. Head coach, Doug Peterson. And here's why. Here's why I say you got to give credit to the front office. Because if you remember, they drafted Carson Wentz, and then they spoke about, Sam Bradford is going to be the starter. And Sam Bradford was like, I want to be traded. There's no way you guys are going to, sit here and let me play with that guy after you spent the number 2 overall pick. And we talked about how, if you just play, you went not, the business side of football took over. And they could have held on to Sam Bradford and went through that whole season, but they took a chance, and they actually cashed in on that chance because, unfortunately, Minnesota, Teddy Bridgewater got hurt, and they offered a first-round draft pick for Sam Bradford. So that put Carson Wentz into the starting lineup, and the front office had the confidence that Carson Wentz was the guy. He could go ahead and start his career at that point. He had some good moments last year, and he had some bad ones and down ones, but you expect that. This year seems like it's everything is clicking a little bit better. He's making better decisions. He's using his feet in the right situations, getting out of bounds, keeping himself away from injury. Now his running back committee is not that, the hottest, so it's not like he's totally leaning on the running game. He's not leaning on the passing game, with the exception to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is balling, but he's kept them in a lot of games. He kept them, relevant. So Carson Wentz is a big reason why the Eagles are 7-1. And also, I said the coaching staff. The coaching staff got like Doug Peterson, him and Frank Wright putting Carson Wentz, and the offense in a good place. You got Deuce Staley, which is also the running back coach. He's got Wendell Smallwood and now LeGarrette Blount, Kenyon Barner, and guys like that. But they're getting production out of guys per se. They wouldn't just be the guy. They wouldn't be just the person that take all the snaps. So the Eagles and their defense is really, really good. Unfortunately, they lost Jason Peters at left tackle. So we'll see if that impacts them going forward. I really thought, that they were probably trying to address that, but they haven't yet. But, they still got a few weeks. Maybe they think that, who they got in camp or on the roster right now is good enough, but the Eagles being 7-1, that is, I would have never called that. I would have never said at the halfway point in the NFL who would have the best record. I would have never said the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's something that, that's why we watch. We pay attention because things happen, things change, Another thing that I saw or pointed out was the AFC East. AFC East, not there. I'm not going to say they're going to, take over the world or anything like that, like it's Pinky in the Brain or something, but you have to give the AFC East credit. The Pats, we already know, that they are what they are. They're 6-2, no one is surprised by that. But the other three teams, in this division, we were not expecting anything, or I wasn't expecting anything from these teams. And the Bills are 5-2. They are looking good right now with their defense. They made some moves. Again, we'll get into that later. That relates to them. The Miami Dolphins, they also made some moves. Maybe they're going in a different direction, but they're 4-3. For me, I still think this is a tough year for them. The whole thing with the hurricane, and it changed their schedule where they're playing 16 games straight, and they have offensive line, problems. Devontae Parker, the thing with Devontae Parker is that he has these injuries, and he had another injury that's keeping him out of games. But they're 4-3. Cutler is out of the, out for the next probably 2 weeks, maybe 1 week at this point because he didn't play last week. But 4-3, I mean, to me, it's still good. It's still a winning record. It still gives them an opportunity. There's a lot of other teams that wish they were 4-3, right now at this point. And last is the Jets. And I'm just going to say about the Jets is that we all thought the Jets was in, complete rebuild mode and that they would be challenging someone for the first overall pick. And they've had different, different thought process about that. They're no, we're going to come and compete. A guy like Josh McCown, of course, we know he's not the guy, but this is what Josh McCown does. He comes in, that first year that he gets there, he steps in, he does a really good job, and then something happens, after that, the following year. But he's playing decent ball. You're finding out about guys, guys like Robbie Anderson, Bilal Powell, he's pretty much going to take over because to me, I really think the Matt Forte is done, after this year. But the Jets is in ball games. They were in that ball game with the Patriots. They were in the game, with the Falcons. So they've lost a couple, tight games. They've competed. So I'm really surprised about the AFC East as far as like midway through. I really thought, all these teams will have losing records other than the Pats. Last but not least, reviewing over the first half, some of the storylines, Deshaun Watson. Now, their record does not, show, what Deshaun Watson has been doing. And, of course, some of this is related to fantasy football. But Deshaun Watson has shown what I think majority of the NFL community knew. And when I say community, I mean the community. The fans, the mascots, the cheerleaders, the people at the concession stands, GMs, players, coaches, analysts, sound, audio, parking lot attendants. Deshaun Watson is the real deal. At least this year. The guy just seems like he doesn't get rattled. He doesn't get frustrated. And I think that just comes from his background, and I think also playing at Clemson, there were some tough times, but he got through it. He stayed the course. He didn't let it frustrate him, and I think he took this into this job. Even with the whole thing of Tom Savage